What is a true fact that sounds like a conspiracy theory? Please subscribe, like and leave a comment. Much love to you all. Project Sunshine, in which the US government, in the wake of dropping atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, ordered a major study to better understand the effects of radiation exposure/nuclear fallout on the human body, so an international network of agents was recruited to locate recently deceased children and steal body parts from them to use for testing. Scary but very true. I'm an X-ray student and we talk about this a lot in class. A lot of rules and regulations regarding medical radiation exposure are all based off data from exposed Japanese citizens. Edit. Fun fact: bed or banana equivalent dose is an informal radiation unit. Bananas give off approximately 1 microsievert of radiation and can be used as comparison when studying radiation exposure. Thanks for reading. So, bananas are actually used for scientific scale till. It's just an informal measurement, meaning in theory it could work, but it's not very practical. The Hawaiian royalty was toppled by a fruit company, Dole. Fruit companies did all sorts of crazy and terrible shit. There's a reason we have the term Banana Republic. It originally referred to puppet governments installed by mostly US-based fruit companies to exploit cheap labor and land in prime fruit growing regions. The US government pardoned hundreds of Japanese war criminals who did things that would have made Joseph Mengele blush in exchange for their research on biological warfare that they conducted on live human subjects. It wasn't just as an exchange for their research. The entirety of the Japanese government or anyone remotely involved with administration of governmental functions was essentially guilty of war crimes. The amount of individuals who would have been imprisoned or executed would have caused larger post-war issues. It wasn't a win/win situation. The CIA has a real deal heart attack gun. It was exposed to the public in the 70s. Not only does the US Gov have a heart attack gun, it also has other means of sci-fi spy weapons, such as mounted radar dishes that can cause mass hysteria for crowd control via high pressure frequency waves, among other crowd manipulation devices. One of the more awful crowd control weapons they have is the active denial system, which shoots a microwave frequency RF beam at a crowd to disperse it. If it hits you, your skin feels like it's on fire, but it causes no lasting injury. The problem is, you immediately want to run away. This can cause people to die in stampedes. And imagine if they turned it on a group of people boxed in an alley. Not really a conspiracy, but I recently read that the Department of Navy and ARPA released tour to the general public so people could create enough noise to mask the real agents who would need it. Turns out that if you control about +/-30% of the nodes, you can triangulate entry and exit connections. The FBI sent an anonymous letter to Martin Luther King Jr. telling him to kill himself. The FBI invented Sparks Chat. Project Northwoods JFK was proposed an idea from the CIA in which they would rain terror on the American people via random terrorist attacks, military ships being sunk, and plane hijackings in which they would blame on Cuba, and therefore get the public behind the idea to go to war with Cuba. Thankfully, JFK declined. These types of plans are proposed all the time. False flags are a way to establish policy. Hopefully they aren't done most of the time. Hopefully. Bohemian Grove. Some of the world's most rich and powerful men meet up for a retreat in California and do weird shit around an owl shrine. Operation Paperclip. Recruit Nazi scientists and insert them into key government tech operations after WWII. This is how the world transitioned from the German V2 rocket to NASA and the ICBM in the span of 30 years. Both the US and Russia used dolphins and whales to spy on countries. In the 1990s, the Canadian government were using a homosexual detector called the Fruit Machine to find gay men and fire them from their jobs. Edit. The electronic device was only used in the 1960s. The systematic gay purge, also referred to as the Fruit Machine, continued into the early 1990s. The Fruit Machine was not only the systemic targeting of queers in the civil service, but also an actual contraption. It looked like a dentist chair, with cameras and sensor attached along with a black box that displayed images at eye level for the victim. Participants would volunteer to have their stress levels checked when the machine was really an attempt to tell if a person was queer. Images shown to the participant would include erotic photos of men and women with other meaningless visuals. If she/he showed any sign of supposed arousal during a photo of someone of the same sex, they were added to the watch list. The Canadian government pulled the funding on the fruit machine in the 1960s, but that didn't stop the RCMP from constructing more invasive tests on unsuspecting participants. They continued with their stress tests, which began to include plethysmographs, highly suspect devices that attach to genitals to gauge arousal. Even after Trudeau decriminalized queer sex, the fruit machine kept secret tabs on Canadians in the civil service up until the 1990s. When Faude first started researching the film, she was shocked this had even happened, and how long it continued. It began in the 1950s, and wasn't eliminated until, seriously, the early 1990s. But as her work continued, what surprised her most was how this went far beyond people losing their jobs. Gaydar. Project Acoustic Kitty. Basically, the CIA wanted to put microphones and transmitters inside of cats and use them to spy on the Soviets in the 1960s. It cost about $20 million and was a huge failure. Allegedly, the first attempt at this resulted in the cat running out into the street and getting run over by a car almost immediately. While they failed with cats, they were successful with birds. A real bird hasn't actually existed since 2001. During Prohibition, the US government added poisons to industrial alcohols because they were being chemically modified for consumption. This resulted in many deaths that the government justified by saying the dead had been breaking the law. Reddit admins have access to an infinite amount of gold. This is so that they can give gold to posts/comments they want to see rise quickly, and in turn will promote content that Reddit wants advertisers to see. You mean to tell me that Reddit gold isn't backed by physical gold? Not since Nixon. Canada has amassed 90% of its population within 100 miles of the US border. Something like 90% of Australia's population is 10 miles from the coast. Similar reasons, opposite climates. The Tuskegee syphilis experiment. The purpose of this study was to observe the natural history of untreated syphilis. The African American men in the study were told they were receiving free health care from the United States government. None of the men were told that they had the disease, and none were treated with penicillin even after the antibiotic was proven to successfully treat syphilis. That's messed up on so many levels. There is a little bit of oxygen on the moon. Almost all of the oxygen in Earth's atmosphere for the last 2.5 billion years came from photosynthesis. That means the moon's rocks have been picking up small amounts of oxygen from living things on Earth. The moon is contaminated with the waste products of plants, the researchers said. The US conducted a fake vaccination drive to find Osama bin Laden. The CIA organized a fake vaccination program in the town where it believed Osama bin Laden was hiding in an elaborate attempt to obtain DNA from the fugitive Al-Qaeda leader's family, a Guardian investigation has found. The egg industry as a whole embarked on a 2-year war on a single vegan mayo brand. Do go on. Generally curious now. For a long time, there were theories that the egg industry, just as a whole, wanted to take down the vegan mayo brand Just Mayo. They felt threatened by the brand, since it basically tastes exactly like the real thing, but without the egg that the industry relies on. It was regarded as a conspiracy theory, and there was no way the egg industry would all band together and try to take down a single vegan mayo brand. Until, in 2016, emails were leaked and showed that they were banded together and were trying to take down Just Mayo. Some of the emails showed that some of their representatives talking with a rep from Whole Foods about how they could easily pull the brand as a whole from shelves. As far as conspiracy theories go, it's pretty mild, but still wild, because it's just eggs. Mars is completely populated by alien robots. As far as we know. America didn't want to say they lost the Vietnam War, so they sent troops there for 6 more years, even though according to them, it was impossible to win. This was in the Pentagon Papers. Also, the entirety of the USA Patriot Act of 2001. Neil Armstrong had to fill out an immigration form when he arrived back to the US from the moon. Nestle is pretty much a supervillain. Lobsters can't actually die of old age because they have an enzyme that replicates some of their DNA or whatever throughout their life, but they can die of anything else, for instance disease, consumption, etc. So if you think about it, there really could be just a huge ass lobster like the size of a VW bug chilling in the middle of the Atlantic or even bigger. Bedbugs can lie dormant for up to 24 months without food. They're out to get us all, man. That and crows have facial recognition. They remember you. Sounds totally out there, but it's true. Edit. Well damn. Thanks all. Crows are indeed mysterious birds. I jotted what I could down of the story on Halloween morning. Crows are terrifying. Fun fact. Bedbugs used to only eat on bats as a type of tick, but researchers wanting to study the bats spread the tick, bedbugs, and with their super evolution abilities, they went from ticks for bats to the bedbugs we know today. Bedbugs have this crazy ability to evolve past most or all pesticide / poisoning, as freezing or heat treating the infested area is the only option.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.